Welcome back to another grapesodatravels. If you caught our video last week, you'd have seen us coming to the end of our tour of the Outer Hebrides in Scotland. So we thought this week, let's give you a little bit of a retrospective. Look back on our trip, do some stats, tell you about the costs. What do you think? Yes, it's something a little bit different this week, so enjoy some highlights from the last 14 weeks as we take a look back over our recent tour of the Outer Hebrides in Scotland. We'll reveal some of our holiday favourites, pass on some of the things that we learned that we think will be useful if you're planning a trip here, and we'll take you through that thing that pretty much everyone seems to be interested in. How much did our trip cost? So let's start by looking at how to get there and the route that we took.
There are 4 options. Well, there's 5 if you include flying in from Glasgow to Barra airport.
Harder to do with a van.
It's tricky it doesn't fit. So there are 4 routes. So you can come in from the mainland of Scotland from north to south. You can do Ullapool, Uist on the Isle of Skye. I know that's not mainland, I'm aware. Mallaig, or the option we chose, Oban.
So you can either do it south to north, as we did, or you can do it north to south. There's lots of different options with the ferries, and it kind of really depends on what you want to see and how much time you've got.
We were very fortunate to have a full fortnight to do a really big journey, weren't we?
Yeah, you can easily fill a fortnight. You can probably fill more than that if you've got the time, can't you?
Oh, to have the time.
Yeah. So let's get into some facts and figures.
Excel spreadsheet.
Someone has a piece of paper.
Yes, we may have an Excel spreadsheet, but I'm still printing it out. So what would you like to know first, my love?
How long were we away?
17 nights, including the night that we spent overnight on the way up in Bedale in Yorkshire, but also a night on Skye and a night in Moffat on the way home.
So of those 17, how many actually in the Hebrides?
14 on the Hebrides and 17 in total.
And how many miles did we do?
A lot. We live in Cambridge, and so it's quite a drive. So door to door, the whole journey was 1,770 miles.
If you'd have asked me, I might have even guessed more than that.
Really?
Yeah.
There were miles well spent.
Which was your favourite mile?
We'll come to some favourites in a bit.
Okay. So let's get on to the costs. We'll give a full breakdown at the end, but we'll just go through some of the highlights now. I guess the obvious one, we've talked about mileage. How much did we spend on fuel?
So we topped up 4 times, spent a grand total of £271.63.
That's not too bad.
It's not bad, is it? It's not bad for a fortnight and a smidge, is it?
One thing we didn't spend anything on is LPG. We didn't actually have to fill up at all whilst we were away. In fact, we've only filled up once since we've got the van, so we don't have any costs for that. But we probably used half a tank of gas,
Yes,
I guess.
I think that it went down that many pips, didn't it?
I was surprised how little gas we used. But we were on hookup for heating most of the time. Not that we needed it because the weather was so lovely. And our heating is electric and diesel anyway, so we don't use any gas on the heating. So it's only really for powering the fridge whilst we're on away from hookup and cooking. So it does really well on gas.
It's very good, isn't it?
Site fees is probably the next big one, is it?
Right, so the grand total, including those 3 nights that I was telling you about of overnight and coming back down, a grand total of 17 nights site fees of £478. So we paid site fees everywhere we went. This was our first road trip, so we didn't do any off-gridding. So it's all paid site fees.
So what was the cheapest site?
The cheapest was right up as far north as you could possibly get without falling into the Atlantic. And it's called Uncle's Croft at the butt of Lewis. And that was £17 a night, hook up, water, but nowhere to drop your grey or your Elson, or any toilets or any showers. So that makes sense.
But they did have an honesty bar.
They did.
And what was the most expensive site?
Yes, I was worried you were going to ask me that, because I'm going to butcher some Gaelic. Sorry.
Excellent.
Apologies now. Pec Nisha Uist. Delete as applicable. Glorious site. That was £35 a night, though. Hook up, hard standing, all of the facilities that you require, and the most glorious view.
What a view.
Yes.
Not that we really had bad views from any of the sites.
They were all smashing, really, weren't they?
But I think the first and the last were particularly good. I guess one of the other big things would be the ferry costs.
Yes, it was a sizable chunk. We paid for 4 lots of ferries. The first one, unsurprisingly, it is 4 and a bit hours, was the most expensive. But for 2 adults, they were all one-way tickets for a 6-metre campervan as well. And the grand total of those 4 ferries were £233.15.
I think that's quite reasonable.
I think that's all right. It's okay.
But booked fairly well in advance.
Yes. I have no idea if the prices go up as you get closer to the date.
No.
I don't know if you get a bit of a bonus for buying online early.
Let us know if you know. So we ate out a bit.
We did eat out a bit, probably less than we would do on some holidays, because it's less easy to actually find places. It's not dotted with pubs galore, is it?
No.
But eating out across the whole of the trip, including going up and coming down as well, was £317. But that includes quite a really lovely meal in Moffat.
Yes.
It was very nice.
So that's eating out, coffee, tea, those kind of things during the day.
Yes, and some dinners. Not very many, but mostly lunches and things, wasn't it? Cups of tea.
So about shopping and groceries?
Not so much. Very reasonable up there. I didn't find that things were hugely more expensive than what we used to when you just popped to Tesco's down the road. So again, for all of the 17 nights, it comes to £187.33p. So, which I don't think is too bad. Yeah. Obviously, we did go with a van full of essentials with us, but that's how much we had to spend on top up.
So I guess what's the grand total when you add everything else in?
So once you add everything else in, and that's including sort of souvenirs and paying for activities and things like that, the grand total was £1,686.45p.
There we go. I think that's not bad.
No, that's all right.
So what's that per night?
Per night. Yeah. I have done that maths. Well, Excel has. Cost per night for both of us, not per person, but for both of us, £99.20p.
I think that's definitely much less than we spent on other holidays when we've been staying in accommodation and probably eating out a bit more.
Yes, it is definitely a lot less. You can very easily go places and pay £100 a night accommodation, can't you? So, £99.20p.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Teddy.
Are you ready for some quick fire favourite things? Not that sort. My first question to you is, what was your favourite island?
Gosh, how many islands did we visit?
9? We did tot it up, didn't we? Bear with.
Talk amongst yourselves while we do some maths.
Counting on my fingers. Counting complete.
Yes, and after several recounts, we think the answer is 10.
Yes.
Not including the Isle of Skye on the way home.
No. So, out of those 10, your favourite?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's hard to disassociate your favourite island with your favourite day or your favourite activity. But in terms of favourite island, probably either Barra or Eriskay.
They are good choices.
Just in terms of, I don't know, there's a nice vibe about them. They're beautiful places. they're probably the two places that might make me stop and think, you could possibly live here. Obviously, the weather helped.
Certainly did.
What about you?
Barra too, yes. Uist. I did find Uist really interesting. Just full of history and places to learn and discover.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed those two places.
But all 10 are good. What was your favourite site that we stayed on?
Mine was Elenfroich. It's not the most beautiful, but I really enjoyed it. It was lovely and peaceful. It's lovely and quiet. And I loved the people who run it. They were just so helpful, so warm and welcoming, and full of recommendations. I really, really enjoyed being there.
Good facilities there as well.
Yeah, it was great facilities, yeah. What about you?
Probably the first one that we stayed on in Barra.
The one with the most stunning views in the world?
I mean, maybe it was because it was the first one. I'm slightly biased, I don't know. But yeah, boy, what a view from that site.
Stunning.
It's a nice small site, relatively basic facilities because of that. But yeah, amazing views, really quiet, lovely.
Borv campsite it was called. Lovely. Do you have a favourite beach?
We saw a lot of beaches.
We did.
And in some ways you become a little bit...
Beach blind.
You do become beach blind and start to zone out after a while because they're all so spectacular and so quiet and lovely. To be a bit different, maybe the one that we found on South Uist when we went up to see the Roundhouse sort of ruins. Because it was such a surprise to find a beach like that, and we were the only people there. It was so secluded.
Yes, with a handy picnic bench.
Yeah.
Was glorious. Yeah. Mine would be... Again, it's tricky. I'm sure everybody says Lascantire, so I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say Eriskay Beach, just round the corner from the Politician.
Yes.
It was really beautiful, quiet, beautiful colour of the sea, and those beautiful little teeny tiny shells that were peach-coloured little gems. I like that very much.
I have no drone shots of either of those beaches, so let's just say Lascantire was nice too.
It was very nice.
What was your favourite activity? Favourite day? Favourite thing we did?
That's really hard to choose, isn't it? Oh my gosh. Callanish. Going to the stones at Callanish. Mind-blowing. I find that connection with such a long time ago.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Really highly recommend going there.
And not too busy the day we went.
No. Fortunately, what about you?
It was probably when we visited the Broch.
Wow.
The fact that you can go inside, you just wander around to your heart's content. And again, the history, the fact that it's so old. Yeah, I think the Broch.
Fantastic. And of course, both of those activities, both of those places, are completely free to visit.
That's not why we chose them.
No.
As our favourites.
I just find it stunning that it's completely free to visit. But yes.
I don't think they would be completely free.
It wouldn't be down here.
In England.
How much does it cost to go to Stonehenge, for example?
I don't know.
Gosh.
So what was your favourite activity that we actually paid for?
Let's see if we've got the same one. Let's say it both at the same time. You ready?
I think we probably will.
3, 2, 1. Oh, no, black houses, yes. What an amazing place.
Yeah.
The smell stays with you.
It does. I can smell it now.
The peaty, smoky smells.
And again, fascinating the history and, just how long those things have been there.
And beautifully put together, all dressed as how it would have been.
Yeah.
It's just like as though somebody's just popped out for a cup of tea.
It'd be interesting to know how busy those kind of more well-known locations get during the summer. But I say we didn't find them too busy at all, did we?
We were there in school holidays.
Yeah.
We were there during the Easter holidays, so there was opportunity for it to be busy, but they really weren't, were they? Right then, driver.
Oh.
I have a question for you. Your favourite drive of our trip?
Oh, gosh. It was probably that little loop on the south of Harris. Is it the Bays Road?
Oh, when we came up from Rodell Church and went back up towards...
Yeah. The one that was used in 2001 Space Odyssey for filming the moons of Jupiter, and it felt like the moons of Jupiter at some point.
Certainly did.
I also enjoyed how much it terrified you.
Oh, it was quite a narrow road, and the sides often just disappeared, and it was a bit...
But it's
but it's super quiet. You're not meeting a lot of other traffic.
Follows the coast. It's just really lovely, and it's a very interesting drive, isn't it?
Yeah, interesting. Yes, but I did enjoy it. Thank you for taking.
Did you have a favourite drive as a passenger? Not that one.
I enjoyed, just because of how other it was, how different it was, when we went up to Erd Uig, where the old RAF base was.
Yeah.
Because it just felt like you were disappearing off into a forgotten land. I found that an interesting drive.
Apocalyptic, wasn't it?
Slightly. But I'm very glad we went.
We did, because we found the best cup of tea and scones in the cafe there that we had all holiday.
Oh, my goodness, Fiona can make a scone, can't she?
Thank you, Fiona. Now, you know we like a bit of food on this channel. What was your favourite food?
There's a lot of lovely things to choose from, isn't there? Stornoway black pudding. We went to McLeod's, didn't we, in Stornoway, and got some black pudding. And we had some of it, top tip, we brought some of it home, didn't we? And you added it to bolognese. Next level. Don't knock it till you've tried it. What about you?
That was good. We did have some, as it's meant to be, in the sandwiches with some sausages as well, didn't we?
Yes, we did. And that was yummy too.
I think it has to be the Indian takeaway that we had on the first or second night on the Isle of Barra.
Yes.
A, because I certainly wasn't expecting to bump into an Indian takeaway anywhere on our travels, but B, it was really, really good.
It was splendid. Cafe Kissimal.
So if you're thinking about going to the Outer Hebrides, then here's some handy tips and advice.
So many things. Just little helpful, handy hints. Take cash. I know a lot of people don't really carry cash, but it is jolly handy when you're there. Take some cash with you. There's lots of amazing honesty boxes, a lot of which you can do PayPal or Venmo and all that kind of stuff. However, take some cash. If you're off-gridding, a lot of them will ask you to put some cash into an envelope to post through doors if you're paying for an off-grid honesty spot. Take some cash with you. Including
coins for showers.
Yes, coins for showers.
Though we only had a couple of locations where we needed that, but don't get caught short.
No, you don't need it for that.
Oh, okay.
The roads. So, passing places. So, a lot of the roads are single track roads with passing places. They are often and plentiful, and please use them. We're a 6-metre van. We're not exactly massive, but we are certainly bigger and slower than the locals who zip about in their cars. So pull over if you've got someone behind you. Give them the opportunity to pass you and go on their way. But also just keep your wits about you of what's coming towards you. There will always be something either just in front or just behind you. So you didn't have to do... I think there was one occasion where you had to do quite a big reverse, didn't you, to get back to
I think just the one.
Yeah, just the one. The rest of the time it was easy peasy.
And don't park in them.
Gosh, no. I did see a couple of people doing it.
Yeah.
I scowled at empty cars.
But actually I was quite surprised how easy the roads are to drive up there. I think probably easier than Mull.
Yes. Yes, and great quality as well.
Yeah.
I mean, well tarmac. They weren't exactly potholey, were they?
And certainly the main roads, the ones that sort of link the top to bottom and the islanders together, most of those are bi-directional, aren't they? So you don't need the parking place for those. And even in a van like Teddy, it was surprisingly easy to get around.
Yeah.
Always good to chat to the locals.
Yeah, I don't find this particularly difficult. I can talk the hind leg of any sort of donkey. But yes, they are an absolute pot of information and recommendations, and they are often really up for a chat in a community shop or a cafe, and they will tell you all sorts of hidden gems.
Yes, we got lots of advice from the people sitting next to us while we were having a cup of tea, or the lady serving us at the counter on a museum, or a waiter or waitress or something like that.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. The locals are full of ideas, but do your homework before you go. I love a travel guide. This is the one that I've turned to most. This is the Brad. I definitely recommend this. I will leave a link in the description box below to the Amazon link so you can get yours. I found it really chatty, full of anecdotal bits of information, but they're really helpful guiding your way around. I had OS maps for everywhere. Thank you, eBay. But that's lovely because the amount of times you'll be just pootling along a road and you go, oh, there's a thing. Should we go down here? So that's nice. Do your bit of homework. They're not exactly full of tourist information offices.
No.
There are some dotted around, sort of perhaps in a community centre or things like that, but they're not everywhere. So again, go to the website. Perhaps before you leave home, you can download everything if you want to, and their website is very good.
So if you're going in a van, then the ferries are unavoidable. But I think the biggest bit of advice that we'd have when it comes to that is book them in advance.
Yes, they can get busy, and you're in a larger vehicle, so you would be less popular if you just rocked up on the off chance. So particularly book your first one to get to the islands and your last one to get off the islands. The in-betweeny ones, maybe you could wing it.
Certainly, if you were there the same time as us, you could probably just turn up on the day and you'd be okay. Worst case scenario, you might have to wait for another one slightly later in the day, assuming you're not there right at the end of the day. But no, to get there and to get off again, definitely book those in advance.
Yes. The KMAC website is very useful. If there's any issues, they are really good at keeping you informed. You may recall that when we were leaving Harris, our ferry home was very late because it was terrible weather out at sea, but I got regular updates via text. I also follow the Twitter account, KMAC Updates, it's called. That's super useful, and that will you're forewarned and forearmed.
I was very impressed with KMAC in terms of how they do keep you up to date with what's going on. Yeah, and when we popped into terminals, they were very welcoming. If we had the same question that everybody else has probably asked them, and they don't go. Some of them even have cats, so that's all good. And top tip, they have handy places if you need a wee. So it's quite useful places as a terminal. We even had lunch, didn't we, on the one over to Barra? That was quite nice.
Yeah. The Outer Hebrides is not exactly full of massive supermarkets. It does have supermarkets. The Co-op has got it all stitched up, and they were very good supermarkets, weren't they? Yeah. Really good, well stocked. However, anytime you see a community shop, can we encourage you to stop and stock up with anything you might need? Because it might be a while till you see the next shop. You don't want to get caught out without any milk. But also, the community shops, you are paying straight back into the community, which I really enjoy doing. I like that. Yeah. And some of them also have garages as well attached to them.
What was your favourite shop?
Oh, Eriskay.
Yeah, mine too.
It was a lovely shop.
Lovely staff.
Yeah, really
Really
nice.
well stocked as well.
Amazing. Now, Scotland. The weather. Let's talk weather. We were incredibly lucky. Our weather was gorgeous. Blue skies for the first full week. Blue skies and just gorgeousness.
Yeah.
The second week was grayer, but it still didn't rain on us very much at all.
No.
Until the very last day. However, we know that we were particularly blessed on that trip. So it's Scotland. Pack for the weather. So do make sure we had. Yeah, we had everything. We didn't need it all, but we had everything. Take your warm stuff, take your waterproof stuff, take your shorts, take your sun cream, take your sun hats and your sunglasses, and a brolly. You might need them all, possibly all on the same day. we'd love to hear from you if you've got any questions about planning your own trip to the Outer Hebrides and our experiences and how that might feed into yours.
Yes, if there's anything that we haven't covered in this video, then do ask and let us know.
No question is too silly because Okay, no question from you is too silly. Many questions from me are very silly, but we certainly would welcome to if you've been. Have you been, and did we miss places out that we should go back for?
But that's our Outer Hebrides tour come to an end. Well, actually, for us, we're off on our next trip in probably not too long, about 3 weeks' time. Mm-hmm. We're off on our summer trip this time, and we're off to Northern Ireland.
More ferries. They're booked as well.
Let's hope there's more sunshine.
Yes. But I am looking forward to that. It's going to be good.
Yeah, so if you've enjoyed our Hebrides tour, thank you very much for coming along. And maybe have a subscribe to the channel. Then you can find out what we do next and join us in Northern Ireland.
Will they all fit in here?
No, we might have to get a trailer.
But you'd be very welcome. We love sharing with you. So.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye then.